Well, guys, we are back in the thick of it, unfortunately. It would really be nice for any of us Tesla shareholders if we could just own the stock without having to deal with all of these, unfortunate politics and drama, and with everyone so angry at each other when all we're really trying to do is just make a good long-term investment. And like, I get a lot of comments, understandably so, asking whether I am pro Musk or anti Musk or liberal or conservative or pro EVs or gas vehicles or pro Trump, anti Trump. And while I understand all of that curiosity, I just feel like, it's not something I should really be getting involved in all of these divisive topics because it's not the reason why I own Tesla stock. I'm just hoping that it performs well long term, like I do with all of my other investments and the different stocks that I own. But look, I get it. Times are very strange out there, and these days everything is politicized. So I understand why it's so entrenched into our investments, but I guess I just wish it wasn't. And I'm sure you guys do too. Wouldn't it be nice to, only have to focus on a business and try to determine how it'll perform long term without having to worry so much about all of the crazy political and macro drama and concerns out there? Well, unfortunately, that's just not the world we live in today. And so once again, we are forced to talk about the ongoing up and down, hate, then love, then back to hate again relationship between CEO Elon Musk and President Donald Trump, because they are once again feuding. And at this point, it is really starting to concern me as a Tesla shareholder. So in today's video, I just want to quickly recap with you what the new escalation is between the two businessmen, really, and how it might affect Tesla stock and what I will be doing myself too. So smash that like button. Let's just go ahead and jump into this update on Tesla stock, guys. So what exactly is going on here? Well, as you guys know, this all started with Trump's big, beautiful bill that was really making its way through Congress. Now, why was this a problem for Tesla? Well, in the bill are several changes that could directly affect renewable energy and electric vehicle companies. For example, it completely eliminates the tax credits for both wind and solar projects by 2028, despite still keeping them for nuclear, hydrogen, and geothermal, all of which Tesla has zero exposure to, so it would really only hurt Tesla. And not just that, but besides hurting solar, it actually helps big oil too, by streamlining project approvals and permits for new infrastructure and pipelines. It keeps various tax breaks and subsidies specific to big oil, which are used by companies like Exxon and Occidental Petroleum. And it even dedicates $2 billion to restock the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, while again only making cuts to renewables that an EV company like Tesla would typically rely heavily on. Speaking of which, when it comes to EVs, it keeps out any EV mandates like the one that California was trying to pass by 2035, and it also eliminates the $7,500 EV tax credit by next year, as well as any credits for leased EVs and used EVs by this year too. And as if all of that wasn't bad enough for Tesla, the bill also takes a swing at solar roofing, even getting rid of all of the residential solar tax credits starting next year, which is a 30% federal tax credit that homeowners would typically get for installing solar panels on their roofs of their houses. So in all, yeah, a pretty devastating bill here, obviously, for a company like Tesla. I mean, you're talking about rising prices here for things that were already very expensive, like electric vehicles and solar roofing, things that I would say the average kind of low to middle class consumer out there already really struggles to afford. And now you're talking about potentially those things getting even more expensive than they already were. Well, because of this, my guess is that, Elon looked at this bill and said, Trump, I helped you get elected. I went out and campaigned for you. I spent millions of dollars to help you. And I even upset greatly my liberal fan base, which was always Tesla's biggest kind of core fan base, to the point where now many liberals actually hate Tesla and in a very strong way. And so instead of this benefiting Musk in some giant way, it really looks like it ended up hurting him greatly. And especially if the bill does fully get passed here, which, by the way, just got approved by the Senate. It was initially passed by the House, they revised it, then it went to the Senate revised it, they passed their version. Now it'll be heading back to the House for a final vote, which will probably be taking place at the time that you're watching this video. Republicans really wanted to get this bill passed. I mean, I guess Trump wanted to get this bill passed by July 4th. So they're probably going to be looking to vote on it soon, but it still technically needs to get approved by the House. I think it probably will, but we'll see. Because of this, though, because it's like making its rounds, it's making its way through Congress. Elon took to Twitter once again to heavily criticize the bill, which he mostly claims that it is because of all of the debt that it raises. But let's be real, at least in my opinion, I would say that he is much more concerned about the damage that it'll be doing to renewable energy and electric vehicles. And so when that initially happened, the first kind of criticisms from Musk, Trump in turn, criticized him back. He said that Elon was just lashing out because he wouldn't include an EV mandate. And the two just kind of went back and forth. And it actually got pretty heated at one point before the two eventually started to de-escalate a bit. Musk sort of apologized. Trump basically said that he'd be willing to talk, I think on the phone. I think he even said that they spoke once. It's really hard for me to keep track of everything going on because it's been such a volatile stuff. Everything it's been very chaotic. But either way, that was kind of where we left off before this final vote here got done in the Senate with them passing the bill, to where things are now re-escalating once again between Musk and Trump, which I'll get into that in just a second here. But just so you know, at first, as a Tesla shareholder, I actually thought that the initial friendship between Musk and Trump would benefit Tesla and really all of Elon's companies, because Trump is known for so much of deregulation and getting things approved quickly. So I thought, okay, Elon is literally trying to push the boundaries on everything that he does. I mean, he's trying to get millions of robo-taxis out on the road, driving autonomously. He's launching rockets into space. He's putting up satellites everywhere. He's digging tunnels all over the country. I mean, he's trying to make solar a viable energy source. And these are just all things, every single one of them, scream regulations and permits and all kinds of roadblocks and all that type of stuff. So I figured it made perfect sense for him to help Trump, get him elected, and then later on, Trump would kind of owe him. He'd have to help him back to get all of his company's products and services passed through regulations. Pure speculation on my part, pure opinion. I'm not saying that that is the case, especially for legal reasons, but I'm just saying my opinion of it, seeing it, was that it would ultimately help Elon Musk. That was my initial opinion as a Tesla shareholder. And so that was kind of my very bullish thesis on Tesla stock and the business and their future and what was going on between him and Trump, which I will be the first to admit that I obviously got that wrong. A lot of people criticized it. A lot of people said that this was a mistake, that he was, going to hurt Tesla's brand. And I was really kind of defending it a little bit because I was saying, hey, hold on a second. This might be a strategic move here by Musk to help Trump, because later on it'll end up benefiting him. But I was wrong. It ultimately proved too good to be true. From an investment standpoint, all of this I'm talking about here is from an investment standpoint. I'm not talking about the political and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about it as an investor. Well, all of that turned out to be, too good to be true, because if you go on X today, Elon's page is once again, almost entirely filled with criticism of the new bill, which is his right to criticize whatever he wants to. I'm not saying nothing I'm talking about today. I'm saying like morally or ethically is right or wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm just looking at this as an investor. Hopefully you guys can appreciate that or know that. But anyway, so once you go on there, there's a lot of criticism there. For example, in one post that he just made, I believe this was yesterday, he even threatened to primary any Republicans, essentially, who vote in favor of the bill, saying, quote, every member of Congress who campaigned on reducing government spending and then immediately voted for the biggest debt increase in history should hang their head in shame. And they will lose their primary next year if it is the last thing I do on this earth. Again, uh, my opinion is I would assume that he'd be much more concerned with the damage that this bill does to renewables and to EVs and that kind of stuff. But maybe he does really also care about the deficit, all the debt, the massive debt that America has. So I'm not gonna give too much of an opinion on that. But anyway, that's what he said. Obviously, very critical there. And of course, Trump, being Trump, made sure to respond with equal, I don't know, aggression, even causing the stock at one point to sink over 5% on the day that I'm making this video, after accusing Musk of getting more subsidies than any other human in history, saying in a Truth Social post, quote, Elon Musk knew long before he so strongly endorsed me for president that I was strongly against the EV mandate. It is ridiculous and was always a major part of my campaign. Electric cars are fine, but not everyone should be forced to own one. Elon may get more subsidy than any human being in history by far, and without subsidies, Elon would probably have to close up shop and head back home to South Africa. No more rocket launches, satellites, or electric car production, and our country would save a fortune. Perhaps we should have Doge take a good hard look at this big money to be saved. And by the way, I just want to say again, as a shareholder, it is crazy seeing like how this devolved into this, how it went from they were so close, buddy, buddy, everything was looking great. And now it's like, man, it's like they hate each other. So it's wild. Anyway, this is where we're at now. And so, yeah, as a shareholder, I am pretty concerned about this because it doesn't seem to be de-escalating. It seems to just kind of keep coming back up, keep getting worse. The way that they talk about each other doesn't appear to be very good. And so, especially given that Tesla was, I would say, already struggling with growth. Last year, for example, I mean, let's just do some analytics here. But last year, for example, it was their first year of a deliveries decline, which is not a good sign. And to make matters worse, EPS growth is estimated to come in negative once again this year after a big crash last year too. And sales are also coming in about flat for both years, last year and this year. Now, on the bright side, both sales and EPS are expected to see very large rebounds in the 2 years after, 2026 and 2027, with sales climbing back up to a record high, while EPS is also expected to be, I believe that would be like the second largest in their history in that year, 2027. But even then, with all of that positivity baked in, their forward PE ratio would still be incredibly high. At today's prices, it would be at almost 80. And again, that's looking, like 3 years into the future. Even if you compare it to the sector median right now, the sector trades at around 18, which Tesla is about 1,000% higher than that at the moment. But even looking forward, again, all the way to 2027, they would still be like more than, 3 times higher than the sector median. So there's just no way of sugarcoating that. Tesla remains, and it always has been really, one of the most expensive stocks out there. And more so recently, despite the fact that they're facing all of these new giant challenges. You would think the stock would actually be, more of a value stock, or it'd be lower, more reasonable valuation. But no, it's actually still trading like a very high growth stock, very highly valued premium stock, despite all the challenges. Now, once again, on the bright side, and the reason why I still choose to hold on to my shares, at least for now, is because there is just so much future potential to look forward to, especially with, the Tesla robot, all the things that that's going to be able to do in factories. I actually think there will be demand for it. At first, everyone was very critical. I was actually a little critical of it too, but over time, I've actually been warming up to the idea that the Tesla bot could actually sell pretty well for factories where you could increase efficiencies very greatly. But not just that, the robo-taxis, we know that will be worth trillions in the future. It is going to be the future of the taxi market, right? The ride hailing market, that's going to be the future of it, robo taxis. Um, there is also the cheaper mass market models, which Tesla should be working on. There's the semi for logistics. I actually think that's a huge sleeper. I could see the semi being very, very successful for logistics. And I could even see Tesla launching their own logistical platform and software services for that too, and with autonomy. And all of that could be very lucrative, very high margin for them. And on top of that, again, they are still doing a lot of stuff with energy and battery storage, which I know has a tougher road ahead now with this new bill. But Tesla still has some of the strongest technologies in solar energy and battery storage. And I think they are still, by the way, I think solar and battery storage will still play very, very important roles for the future of energy, right along with nuclear. I'm a little more bullish on nuclear at the moment, but I do still think solar is very important. But the point being that really all of these different markets, and especially with artificial intelligence, and Tesla does a lot in AI too, all of these markets are going to be worth trillions of dollars. And there's many markets that they're going to be operating in. So there's actually quite a bit of diversification within Tesla's own business too. And again, I think those markets will be worth trillions long term. So the question is, can Tesla survive long enough? And can their brand also even survive long enough? But just the business in general, can it survive all the volatility, all the noise, all the struggles until they get there, right? To that future that can be much more lucrative. Well, at the current valuation, I wouldn't really call this stock an immediate buy. Even after falling over like 20% this year, it's fallen. It is still very high in my opinion. And now, thankfully, I bought the stock many years ago, and even in the time after that, I bought it on the biggest dips. So I'm actually still up hundreds of percents on my position, which does make it a lot easier for me to hold on to what I have. But I'm definitely not buying anymore at this time. And to be honest, if all the political mess just keeps getting worse, especially, between Elon Musk and Trump, and if the Tesla brand just continues to weaken even more than it already has, which I do think is a concern. I think Tesla bulls are probably ignoring that a little bit. And I don't want to get on Tesla bulls' bad side. I don't want to get on anybody's bad side, but but I'll just say that I do kind of feel like they ignore the fact that Tesla's brand has taken a bit of a hit because their original fan base was always very liberal, and I can't really imagine liberals being too happy with Elon Musk or wanting to support that company. Anyway, it is what it is. But the point is that, hey, if things get worse from here, I might actually start to consider cashing in some profits and shrinking down my position a little just to make sure I lock in some of these massive gains that I've been able to generate from Tesla stock. And then I can always buy more if I see things calm down or improve later on. In fact, to be honest, I'm heavily thinking about doing that because I am up already so much on my position to the point where if I was to sell even just a little bit of it, I feel that all of even just by selling some of the stock, I would actually generate enough profits from it, enough gains to where it would easily cover all of the purchases that I've ever made in the stock. So in other words, I could be left just kind of playing with house money. To like I would make so much profit on it that I would just be left playing with house money to where I can't really lose with Tesla stock. And that is very attractive to me because it is such a volatile kind of crazy stock that I would like to play with just house money on it. So I might cash in some profits, I might lock some in. But again, long term, I do still want to hang on to a decent amount of shares of it, a decent amount of the stock for the future because of all their future potential. I do still want to be in the stock. But I think I also need to lock in some profits because I'm just getting more and more concerned about Tesla stock. But hey, that's just my opinion. Hey, are you a Tesla bull? Can you calm me down a little bit in the comment section? Can you give me your bullish thesis on it? I love to read those because it always kind of motivates me. It gets me more pumped up for owning Tesla stock. And if you're a bear, I welcome those comments too. Let me know because that's actually something I don't like all the divisiveness between bulls and bears when it comes to any stock, because I actually think the greatest stock market investors are those that can actually put their biases aside and listen to both perspectives, listen to the bull thesis and the bear thesis, and then make the best educated decision on it. And even play it kind of in the middle, kind of like what I want to do right now. I was always a major Tesla bull. one of my biggest stocks, made a ton of money. I'm up a lot on it, always been super bullish on it. But now I'm at the point where I actually want to lock in some profits so that I can just play with house money. And so that's kind of playing it a little bit in the middle there. And that's from me being not biased and being willing to see both sides of it, being willing to see the future potential, the bullishness of it, but also being able to see the concern, the risks, and why I might actually want to lock in at least some profits. I'm not saying all, I'm not saying I'm going to dump all my Tesla stock. I'm not doing that. But I think locking in some profits, I think is fine. And I think it's always fine if you're up a lot on a stock and you want to lock in profits and people start yelling at you and calling you names or whatever just because you sold out of a stock because they're super bullish on it. Don't listen to them. If you ever want to lock in some profits, I think that's totally fine. But again, as long-term investors, we do want to be looking out into the long-term horizon. So it is still a stock that I want to be holding on to for sure long-term. And I hold on to so many stocks long-term. I think I'm entitled to lock in some profits once in a while, right? Anyway, let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear your thoughts. By the way, you guys are awesome. I love my viewers. And I know sometimes I'm a little critical about, I say like, oh, if you get like angry comments or stuff like that. The vast majority of you guys are the best viewers in the world. I even consider many of you my actual friends, and I love to hear from you. So let me know down below. Thanks again for stopping by, my friends. Thank you for all of your support. I really hope you're all doing well. I'll try to help you as much as I can. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll try to help you. But I'll catch you in the next video. Hope you enjoyed this update, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, take care, my friends. Bye-bye.